Hi, everyone. Mitch from sportschatplace.com and pickdogs.com. I got Steve Monahan with me and the Puck Dogs, Rod and Chris. We haven't picked real games and oh man, it feels like forever. Today is April 22nd. Sports stopped around March 12th. So it's been a month and 10 days. Um, Yesterday, news here in Hawaii is that it's up to the mayor to restrict the the being stuck at home thing, and it looks like Oahu is going to go, or Honolulu is going to go a whole nother month. It's like ouch, and on the stay at home. But it looks like Maui. I have a feeling that in 10 days we're going to be out, and things are going to be open. I don't know. I don't think it'll be full scale, but I have a really, really good feeling. We have the second fewest cases out there of any place. So it's hard to go by the government guideline of these decreases for 14 days or whatever. It's like when you only had 2 new cases a day, decreasing would be zero, right? So it makes it difficult, but definitely things heading in the right direction. Yesterday, the governor said that it was up to the mayor as to whether or not they wanted to open the beaches and parks for exercise, and every mayor in Hawaii opened their beaches and parks immediately. So you can be on the beaches now and in the parks, just you can't congregate there, you can't have a picnic there. But if you want to walk the dog on the beach or run on the beach or do any of those things, the beaches are open, not just for ocean access. They're open, which is way cool. So speaking of that stuff, I'm going to guess, that this is something that's. I think it's going to. I think what's going to happen is going to be just a slow process everywhere. It's kind of like first that's going to happen, then the golf courses will open next, and then it will be, you know, more and more of these things until eventually, by next year this time there'll be fans back in the stadium. But I'm going to guess that we're going to start to see teams and plans for games to start to happen. I'm going to guess that by the middle of May, we're going to know exactly what's going on. So I think within 2 to 3 weeks, I was hoping that by now we would know, but I'm thinking that by the end of this month, middle of May, there's going to be a plan because the testing, the results, faster and faster and faster and faster. Like I said at the very beginning when this thing happened, science always wins, man. It always, always wins. We have, not just in our country, but around the world, we have just tremendously great scientists. It's like, how many cases of polio do you see? How many cases of smallpox? How many cases of measles? How many cases of all these things? I know back when I was a kid, you used to be vaccinated like right when you were born. I think, right? Most people my age, we have. I don't even know where it is anymore. I don't know. I have it somewhere, but I have a mark. It's high. Mine's high. Steve probably has one, right? Vaccinated, right? You're a kid, and it's like I know they don't do it anymore, right? So I've seen some that are super low, but mine's
They
really
do
high.
it up here in Canada. They give you like three. You get one when you're born, and then you get two more. You get one in like grade 3, and then I got one in grade 6.
Oh,
I
I got.
didn't know. I remember the grade. I ran away.
Yeah, I'm not big on shots. This is like one of those pressure
Oh, it
things
was
that they
I
give you.
ran away. I literally ran away. The nurse goes to me and said I was in grade 1. The nurse said to me, "It says, do you want your mom to come?" I'm like, "Oh, for sure." Okay, go back to class. Yes, out of the shop. And then the noon bell went, and I ran. I ran to my bike and I pedaled away from there.
I mean, Franklin Roosevelt had polio, four-term president of the United States, for Christ's sakes, in the 30s to the 40s, wheelchair bound, So,
So,
Well, that's why all these shots.
but
Oh,
science always wins, and it just sometimes it takes a little while. But I mean, if Freddie Mercury died of AIDS, it's like a lot of people have died of AIDS. Meanwhile, Magic Johnson has been HIV positive for like 30 years, right, or something at this point. So,
at this point, yeah.
right?
at
So,
least,
yeah,
yeah.
20, maybe 20, right? At least 20 something.
At least 20 something, yeah.
Yeah, at least, right? So, and he looks great, right? Who would, no one even says that anymore about him, right? So, and that's something that doesn't go
Man,
away. But yeah, so I'm hopeful. I've been hopeful all along. I know there's a lot of pessimists out there. But so we have Kylie Reynolds has all these picks. You should put those in our Facebook group, man. That would be super. That way you'll get like a lot of interaction about your picks and see what other people are doing and stuff. And it's just a good way to do it is to put it in our Facebook group, the Pick Dogs Facebook group. Super active. So a lot of people in there would like to discuss that with you. If you put it here on our video comments, well, they're going to come and go, right? That'll be that. But anyways, just saying it for your own benefit. So the big news yesterday, Rob Gronkowski comes out of retirement and signs, they trade him to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know. I think this is one of those things where it'll be interesting to see what kind of shape he's in, because even though he caught that pass against the Rams, he looked like a shell of himself the entire season. He just looked like a beaten man. And maybe all this time off has helped him.
I think this rejuvenated his butt. I add 2 more wins to town. Take the over.
I think this guy doesn't make it past game 3. I'm on the total opposite side. I've seen this before. And I've never seen it done successfully. And I'm not saying that this guy's not like Howard Stern, Tom Brady. He's built like a Greek god. The guy is like in tremendous shape and all those things. But I have to tell you, there's been better people, better players that have tried this, and have failed. So I'm just going to say that I think Antonio Gates was twice the tight end Gronk ever was. Okay. And I will say that when, he was injured and he looked like a shell of himself late in the career,
Gates is better than Gronk overall. Gates was pretty good.
But when he came back, he was nothing.
He wasn't out.
He was nothing.
But I think there's going to be a different situation here. I think he's taking the time off. And I think when he was in a different place mentally as well. That time the last time we seen him playing, he was definitely mentally not there. He was in about the same mental area as Luck when Luck quit, because he had so many injuries. Gronk and his knee injuries and how many injuries he go through. And start taking painkillers and you come into a different planet.
I don't know.
I think Gronk coming back. I think, like you said, I think the year off probably helped him heal. He's tight with Brady. I see him, being Gronk. I do. I mean, we're not talking like he's 37, 36, 38 years old, 35. He's still, yeah. I mean, he's still relatively young, and I don't see him playing every single down, but
yeah, I don't see him
he's
playing
a force. I mean, he's a force. So
he'll get some sort of game management throughout the season so they can get to the playoffs, and then he'll go all in.
I think he's going to get crushed, and he looked just like a shell of himself the last 2 years that he played. I mean, he's one of those guys that, just like Ben Roethlisberger, it's when you see these guys that don't go down. Okay, there's certain types of NFL players. There are the guys like Franco Harris who run out of bounds, right? Then there's certain guys that kind of outrun everybody, and their whole trick is the speed. Then you have guys who are just freakish, Barry Sanders, right? And then you have the guys that won't go down. These are the Larry Zonkas, the guys we talked about the other day. Earl Campbell, Larry Zonka, Gronk, Ben Roethlisberger,
Walter Payton.
But Walter Payton was a little bit of everything else too. But
I know.
But Ben Roethlisberger is one of these guys.
Plus, Gronk has had a year off to practice tackling at the goal line too, so hopefully he'll,
that's all one thing, but it's like this was a guy. I mean, you have to remember, and it's like I have to say that it's like I have nagging injuries. I'm old, right? So I have nagging injuries, and I have to say that even though sometimes they feel better, for the short term, that all it takes is one shot, and it eventually you're right back to where you were. And I just have a feeling that's where we're headed with this thing. I don't know, man. Someone's going to be right and someone's going to be wrong. That's for sure. And
I mean, the compensation was next to nothing, for Christ's sakes, too.
yeah, only $10 million a year for a man of Steve Monahan's means it's nothing. It's a mere drop in the bucket.
Mere bag of shells.
I wipe my ass with
that.
I wipe my ass with $10 million.
If I got it, you got it.
I think that to me, it's. All it takes in the NFL is one hit, by one guy, and we've seen it a million times. I think Gronk's a Hall of Famer. I think all of those things, and he's a great player, and I never really held his antics against him. I always thought that it was part of who he is, and if anybody, right? Me, right? It's like I respect.
The only thing I hold against him is his stand-up comedy. That's him.
Yeah. Did you see him sing? He was singing on. He was Masked Singer. He was just recently
on the Masked being a personality, but
Well, I gotta say, NFL players. I don't watch Masked Singer anymore, but NFL players on Masked Singer generally don't come back well. Antonio Brown was on season 1 of Masked Singer too. It's just, to me, it's like you get a guy that's just beaten up. It's not like he was. It's not like he left at the top of his game. That last season, he looked beaten. He looked done. It was like when he retired. I was surprised. I was surprised he came back for that season, for that final season. I was surprised as hell that he came back for that season. And all season long, I said, this has got to be his last season. He looked beaten and done. But, a year off, maybe that's what makes the difference. I don't know.
Excited to find out and see.
I certainly don't think a tight end is gonna add 2 wins to the win column. I don't.
I do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to disagree strongly.
Cover the guy.
It's not going to hurt the cause. That's for sure.
I strenuously object. But he was beaten. He was a beaten man. Anyways, I think that, a 4th round pick they gave up for him. What else did they give up?
New England, anyways.
What was it?
They lose. They don't have to pay his salary either.
Yeah, but
it was and win. You get a 4th round pick. He wasn't going to play for you anyways. He was never ever going to come back and play for New England. So at least they got something.
I think New England got the better of the deal. They always do.
Oh, New England did get the better of the deal. I agree with that 100%. New England got the better deal. That was a good move.
Mr. Chris, what do you think of this?
They trade a retired guy for a 4th round pick. I'm in favor of it.
Right.
Personally.
Yeah.
It's like I said, he probably wasn't going to come back and play for New England. He's from Florida. Tampa's, it's almost second nature to him. That's where WrestleMania was this year. He was the host of WrestleMania, and he was, he's just a Florida native. He's a Florida guy, and I think that if the Brady move wasn't going to put more butts in the seats, I think adding Gronk to that's going to do.
That'll put more people in the seats too. Yeah,
seats as well.
Yeah.
I think
a place to be brought. Bring back the cannon and stuff.
Yeah.
My kids
The
got
old
to do
man.
online video for school. I'll be back. There you go. Yep, a lot of comments here, but I think that one of those things that remains to be seen. Be interesting to see. Did the NFL like Monday night and Sunday night schedule already come out before this Brady signing and the Gronk? I don't know. I think it did.
Well, they do the flex schedule, right? So trust me,
Sunday nights.
Tampa's going to be in the mix.
If they're good.
Sometimes, if they're good, of course.
But outside of that, not a ton going on with the NFL draft. Still, none of these trades, at least the last I checked, have been executed. See if we can get it up here. But we do have some NFL draft props out there, so let's throw these out and see what we got. Percy Harvin, another guy that's coming back. So what do you think, Percy? Where is he coming? Where's he going?
Yeah, really. God, he's been out of the league for at least 3 years.
But he was with the Buffalo Bills. He was with Seattle, of course. He was with Buffalo. But Percy Harvin was a guy who, coming out of Florida, was really one of the top guys in college football, and he certainly was an exciting playmaker.
He did say it was always a dream of his to play with Tom Brady, so I wonder if
Is that
he
where
goes
he's
there.
going to go?
Percy Harvin?
Yeah.
Wasn't he the guy that said he always got high? I always got high before every game.
Wouldn't be the first.
I'm sure I read a story on that. I'm sure I read a story on
Won't be the first, won't be the
the
last.
guy that he wrote a story. He said for his anxiety before every game, he was so anxious that he'd have to get stoned before he got playing the game.
We could make an all-time team of guys like that.
With second and third stringers.
That's too.
And then you have Grant Fiorinette in hockey.
On this question, if you go to sportschatplace.com, we have the articles, and then it tells you which books each, because we have there's different sims at different books, so each article tells you which book you can bet that sim at. That's the way that works.
He hasn't played since October 2017. It's 3 years. Where's he going?
How about this rumor? I heard that will happen, but the Niners trading the 13th pick, Thomas and Ford, to Washington for the second pick. I would do that if I was Washington in half a second. I wouldn't even think twice about it. It's absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Bosa and Chase Young, coming after the Q. Big deal, man. Bosa's a good defensive end. He's had one season under his belt. There's better. In college, he was dominating. You put him on a defensive line where every defensive lineman on that line was drafted in the top 5 in the NFL draft, not just first round picks. Top 5 NFL first round picks. But I would rather have than Bosa. I'd rather Myles Garrett. There's a bunch of guys I'd rather have than him. And I'll tell you, and like I've said in all these other shows, if we go up and down the defensive ends in history, Julius Peppers is where it all begins and ends for me. I think that he's the guy that you compare everybody else to. I think Bruce Smith is in the conversation, and there's a few other guys like that. But I would say Bosa he's not even in the mix, compared to what those guys do.
Yeah.
He's a nice player. He's got a high motor. He's probably a little better than I thought he was going to be. In his start, he has a long way to go before you start saying, Bruce Smith. before you start saying Reggie White, before you start saying, Julius Peppers, my guy.
Yeah, well, Chris Dolman, somebody like that.
Yeah, see, to me,
Charles
even Dolman was a little small to be in that conversation with Julius Peppers. Julius Peppers, to me, is just a guy that destroys game plans, and it's like, I think you don't get a lot of defensive players. And I know a lot of the guys that watched the NFL towards the end, of Julius Peppers' career, didn't really get to see that, but he still was good, right? He still was good, but it wasn't like, the home wrecker, the guy who just destroys game plans, because he played in Carolina, he played in Carolina, but this is Carolina got to the Super Bowl twice. Well, they got once with him. They had it one. Vinatieri beat them too. People forget that,
Well,
that
Peppers was an athletic freak. He actually played, for Dean Smith.
Yeah,
and could jump to the moon. He was just an athletic freak, and being 6'9" or whatever the hell he was didn't hurt his cause either.
So, what do people remember more from that Super Bowl? The Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson part, or that Vinatieri won it with the last-second field goal?
Yeah, probably Janet Jackson.
Oh yeah.
I can't. James Ellingsworth's a Niner fan. I hate John Lynch. I can't stand him. I hope I can only hope when the Niners make their pick that he has like a total gaffe with his Zoom connection. It's like this guy's just such a jerk. It was. I had the Niners in that game, and it was great to see that smirk get wiped off his face in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. It was just like he acted, and of all people to know better, he was acting like they had already won. Basically he was acting like they had won the Super Bowl, from week 2. And I tell you that Jimmy Garoppolo trade that he thought at the time was going to win him, be the thing that pushes him, into that next level is actually the thing that killed him, right? Because he stinks. He doesn't stink. He's not bad, but I kind of would rather have Alex Smith if he was healthy.
Well, he's better than C.J. Beathard, put it that way.
I take Alex Smith
over Garoppolo. Than Jake Fromm, It's like, I don't think so. I think Jake Fromm is an interesting guy in this NFL draft. That I think if he gets to the right team, I think he's a guy that could win multiple Super Bowls. I do. When you look at these quarterbacks and you say, like, Herbert can throw that deep ball. I like him. He's a big pocket passer. He could, a team that, if you're going to be a quarterback on a bad team, you don't want to be undersized. And Kyler Murray is undersized, but he's also lightning fast, a lot faster than Tua, right? A lot faster. But you don't want to be undersized with a big arm like Tua is. You got to be a big guy, kind of like how Ben Roethlisberger is. People look at Ben Roethlisberger and they're like, well, he kind of does this, and he's won a ton, right? Won a ton. Any way you slice winning, this guy's won. He's won games, he's won Super Bowls, he's won playoff games, he's won big games. He's played against, tough defenses. It's not like, oh, well, it seems like they always catch everybody when they're down. It seems like they catch everyone when they're up. It's like, and, we saw him look like Gronk looked, in that Jacksonville game a few years ago in the playoffs, and I thought that was it for him. That year that he threw all those interceptions against both games against Jacksonville. But the thing is that he gets hit in the pocket and remains standing more than any quarterback I've ever seen. It's like a lot of guys, they just miss, or like Marino had the quick release, you couldn't get him, all these different things. But Ben Roethlisberger, he gets hit all the time, and he still manages to make the throws and still remains standing. You see defenders on the ground, and he's still standing there. It's not because he sidestepped them, it's because he took the hit. So I think Justin Herbert has the ability to build into someone like that. Joe Burrow, he was so accurate last year. It's like it'll be interesting to see what he does on a bad team. and he played against big competition, so it's not like his team just murdered everybody. He played against good teams, so we saw him throw with that kind of accuracy, but he also had probably one of the best wide receiving cores in college football as well to go with that. He also had great
little Joe Burrow goes first overall pick minus 100K.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that? I mean,
that's insane. That's all. Imagine you bet 100K on that to win $100, and he doesn't go first, and you lose your 100K.
And they trade the pick. That means it's $1 million to win 1,000. But I'll see, guys. We'll see, guys. Put that in their parlay. It's like it adds no value, right? But we'll see it in their parlay.
Jesus.
So, what are some of these other props that are out there that we're looking at? I know that the guys at Sports Chat and at Pick Dogs are covering a lot of these prop bets. Let's just pull a few random ones. How many Alabama players will be taken in the first round? Over 5.5 or under 5.5?
I'll go under 5.5. I mean, we got one. Well, you can just figure it out. Yeah.
I like the over here.
Who are the 6 then, Chris?
So I think Tua, Ruggs, Judy,
Right.
Willis. Yeah, Willis. And I think you could get McKinney in there, and I think you could get Trevon Diggs at the end of the first round.
It all depends if there's a run at a position.
Yeah.
I think what you have to be worried about in this draft, on something like that, is a run on wide receivers. This is like normally there's like a tackle run, or there's going to be a quarterback run, obviously here too. I think it's going to be tough. 6 is a ton from one school to go in the first round.
It's possible, though. Now that you just said the names out loud, I think it's possible.
Oh no, it's absolutely possible, but it's like everything needs to fall into place. So here's another one that that a lot of people are looking at, and this is this is the it's where's Jalen Hurts going to be drafted? What round?
Second.
So second is the favorite at minus 150. Where does he go in the second round? To me, Jalen Hurts is the guy who we see on Kuiper's board as his best player available, who sits there.
Right. I'm going to say third round for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I think third round as well.
I think 4 through 7 for me. I just don't see it. I don't think that you can have a quarterback that can't throw the deep ball. I think that if Drew Brees retired and Taysom Hill was the QB in New Orleans, I think there you draft him late. But he's not Taysom Hill. He's not even close. He's a
second quarterback drafted.
He's a good running QB, but he can't throw the deep ball. But Taysom Hill can throw it. Taysom Hill can do anything. He's the best. He's one of our favorites. He's not the best, but he's certainly he's the most balanced football player we've seen in NFL since probably I don't know, maybe Charles Woodson. Who will be the second QB drafted, Rod?
I'll actually make that bet. I'll put Herbert, Justin, minus 110.
Well, the odds in this one have moved dramatically, and the odds are saying that that Tua is the clear favorite here. to be drafted by the Dolphins.
I'm
Well, I
going.
mean-
I'm going Herbert.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Rod and I were talking about it before we went online. It was just, I don't think there's no injury history with Herbert that would concern you like it does with Tua. I mean, Herbert may have had an injury here or there, but Tua's had 3 significant injuries for the position, right? Like he's had the hip injury, he's had the wrist injury, he's had the ankle. And I just, like I said when we were doing our mock draft, I just don't think you want to be that team that's looking over your shoulder when that can happen. So I think the earlier someone gets a quarterback in place of Tua, if they have their eyes on a quarterback, I think you do it. And I think it's Herbert.
Yep.
Who will be the third quarterback drafted, which would kind of fit this whole mold too? Justin Herbert,
I'll
that
take
third quarterback drafted is minus 170. And
Herbert.
Tua is plus 100. So
And I'll take
I'm
Rob
going to
for
guess.
plus 450.
I'm going to guess somebody knows something. It's going to be
I'm going to
Tua
take
in
Rob for
Miami,
plus 450.
or someone's going to trade up to take him. Because it just seems that that all these QB pick props are, and the other one that's really happened here too is that who will be the third overall pick? Tua has also moved up dramatically in that as well to plus 120, while Akuda's still the favorite there at minus 140.
I'm going Akuda. I think Akuda's going to get drafted by the Lions.
I could see them trading out of that spot. Who's the second defensive player drafted? Jeff Okudah?
Kuda.
Yeah, Akuda.
Yeah.
I think the first 2 spots in this draft are a lock.
I could even maybe see.
You ought to say that plus minus 1K. Chase Young, I think, is right behind that with same thing.
Yeah, the second quarterback drafted. Tua is favored still to be the second quarterback drafted. Justin Herbert is third. The Dolphins have deep old connections to Alabama, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Favorite bag on candidates.
Would not surprise me at all.
And then he'll get hit and be out. Wham! Oh, how about you?
Team to draft CD Lamb. Jets plus 350, Raiders plus 325, Cardinals plus 550, Broncos plus 550, Niners plus 650.
I had CeeDee Lamb going to the Niners, but of course now we know that they're shopping the pick, if you will. So I'm gonna say the Jets. I'm gonna say the Jets. He's there.
I got him at the Raiders.
I'll stick with him on the Jets. Actually, no. I'm gonna go Niners plus 650 to keep the pick.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that Niners pick, and I think that pick is all going to come down to I don't think that when you have like the 13th pick, that's not usually a pick that's dealt. That's like the only way that you end up with the 13th pick in a trade is the way the Niners end up with in a trade. In a trade where you traded it last season, and that's just where it ended up to be. If you're going to get the 13th pick, it's not going to happen today, and it's not going to happen tomorrow before the draft. It's going to happen at the time of the pick, and it's only going to be if a specific player is available and somebody really wants him, and that player is going to be Jordan Love, right? I mean, that's the guy. It's similar to the Mahomes when they moved up to take Mahomes. Just very, very eerily similar. This is looking like. Yeah, I think that. So Groovy Caps has an interesting point here. That Carolina for CD Lamb. I think if Jerry Judy is there though, I think he's the better receiver. You know, but I think Carolina is a team that's been hurting for a wide receiver for a long time, And without Greg
I
Olsen,
got Derek. I got Derek Brown going to the Panthers. Rules of defensive guy. I got it though. I'm not saying
they haven't had a wide receiver in
it's
forever.
a need. No, I got it. I think Derek Brown is too good to pass up. Though. At that, what's that, 7 or something?
That'd be interesting to see what happens there.
Well, so the other thing is Kuechly retired. Not that Derek Brown's a linebacker, but that's a big, big hole they got to fill.
I think the Panthers have, they have Teddy Bridgewater there also, but I don't think they're 100% sold on him. We all kind of like Will Grier, right? He's there still, in Carolina. I don't know. For some reason, I could see Will Grier being one of those guys that in a few years has a pretty solid NFL career. I always liked him at Florida, and I liked him in West Virginia until he got injured. Right? I mean, he was real good. Those guys, the best players, just like college hoops, the best players are the guys that get suspended for half the season for some sort of weird recruiting thing, right? I mean, it's the Bruce Pearl, right? It's like if he gets the guy in, they're going to be really good. If they don't get him in, they're going to be okay. It's like, yes, Rod's frozen.
So, am I frozen again?
No, you're unfrozen.
Okay, I'm gonna fix that today. Well, it may not be today, but I'm calling somebody. I'm like, I'm gonna lose my marbles. I'm paying him internet for what? So I can be like.
James Ellingworth says that Pittman is a sleeper receiver. Not if you've watched our show for the last year. he's not been a sleeper over here. It's like, believe me, I've been talking about the USC wide receivers since game 1 of last year when I saw the guy climb the stairs about 15 feet in the air to catch a ball. I was like, that's a good thing to have. We've been talking about that.
So here's a bet for you. If you think Tua's going to the Dolphins, and he's about minus 200
well, I don't know if he's going to the Dolphins. I do think he's going to be the second quarterback taken. I think someone trades up to
then he'll be the 5th pick, right? Then you're saying that he's going to be the 5th pick in this draft.
If he goes to the Dolphins, unless someone trades up, it's the Detroit spot and the Giants spot. Both are looking at guys that could be there. Like, say the Chargers really want Tua. They trade their number 6 and like a 6th round pick to the Giants, or to the Lions. Akuda's going to be there at 6, and so whoever the Giants are going to take.
So when will Tua be drafted? 2nd pick plus 1,200. 3rd pick plus 180. 3rd pick third pick plus 180. 4th pick plus 750. 5th pick plus 130.
I got one of these that says Thursday. I'll put $1 on Thursday for when Tua will be drafted. What do you think the return is on that?
You could probably take the field.
Minus 100,000.
I'll take it.
I'll take the field for plus 150. He goes past the 6th spot for sure.
Tua? You think he'll be a dropper like Aaron Rodgers did? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see it.
Nobody wants. That's a risky. I wouldn't want that guy. I don't want that guy. I don't want any part of that guy.
If you have the right team, he's good, but you need to have a serious offensive line. If he drops past there, then you run the risk that he ends up in New England. Right.
So, but then you're saying he probably goes 5th, and
then you got problems.
3rd. So you think
You know,
You got your
now
Daniel
New England's got that Tampa Bay 4th round pick to deal. They've got the starting to get some. You know, it's like this is not good news for everybody.
Now, okay, now let me ask you this then: if Tua ends up, let's say he does end up falling, let's say he does end up being the Aaron Rodgers, does that mean that maybe a guy like Jordan Love moves up to where the Chargers are at
Well,
6? And
yeah,
he
like
becomes
last
the
year, like Daniel
pick?
Jones, right?
Yeah.
No one had Daniel Jones in that
I
spot.
thought
I
Love
still
going
don't
to
have
the
Daniel
Chargers.
Jones
So.
in that spot, right? I mean, we could mock draft last year's draft, and none of us have Daniel Jones going 6 to the Giants. I mean, no one does. I mean,
I
I'm
bet you
still
couldn't even.
dumbfounded by the pick. I mean, it's a year
I
later.
bet
I
you. I bet
still
you that
don't
wasn't even.
understand it, and I'll
I
continue
bet
to
you that
not
was.
understand it until we see him get the Eli Apple treatment. I mean, the Giant. You just have to look at New York Giant drafts. It's like it could be easily like if they did Sports Jeopardy. It's like New York. I'll take New York Giant draft picks for 800. You know, it's like it's going to be this. You know, bustorama of bustoramas. You know, all the way through it, and you know, so for them to trade out of that 4 spot is probably a blessing because when they do get into those deeper rounds is when they generally do good. They've made a good draft pick before. They took Jumbo Elliott. I mean, they did. They took Jumbo Elliott, right? He was a 1st-round pick. And probably the last, like, legitimate. I mean, Phil Simms was a reach. They took him in the 1st round. But those are Bill Parcells drafts, you know? A little different. George Young, you know? Legends, you know? It's like, not Daniel Jones. You know, the Giants have made like 4 legitimate picks. Saquon Barkley, and I was sure he was going to be a bust. You know, he's the guy that I was. You know, I'll say it right away. I was dead wrong about him. He had everything going for him to put him into that bust category. Number 1, he played running back at Penn State. Number 2, he was drafted by the Giants high in the 1st round. I mean, those are like the magical formula for being a bust in the NFL. I mean, this is, you know, Mel Kiper blasts the Jets all the time in their draft picks, but it's really the Giants that are the horrible drafters. You know, the Jets at least took Jamal Adams. I mean, give them some credit there.
Yeah,
Like
but
Revis.
the Jet history is pretty bad too.
Yeah, everybody's is. But everybody's
I
is.
know.
There's only a handful of teams that, when you look at their drafts, you could say, man, this is a team that really knows what they're doing. And it's the Ravens and the Steelers. You know, the Steelers took Benny Snell last year. It was like, how in the hell is this guy still on the board? You know, they took Watt from right. It's like, how do they end up with these guys? You know, how did the Ravens end up with Lamar Jackson when everyone's like, oh my God, what a terrible pick, what a terrible pick? Yeah, horrible. We'll take Trubisky.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we'll trade up to get Trubisky. I mean. And people were saying that was a legitimate strategy at the time. Of course, I took a lot of shit from that. I took a lot of shit on my Trubisky commentary because I really had a lot of it. I've had some good filibusters throughout the years, but that was really one of the longer ones I ever had. I think my Trubisky, like even before they drafted him, my whole Trubisky commentary was more than the time that he saw on the field at Carolina, easily. And it continues today. What are some other draft props that we're looking at?
One that I was kind of keyed in on, just to see if I could figure it out, was who's going to have the more 1st-round picks, the SEC or all the other conferences combined. SEC right now is at plus 215.
I'll go for all the other conferences combined.
Yeah. All other conferences combined too here.
I honestly think the SEC was not that good this past year. They had three, 4 really good teams, you know. But it was super soft outside of that. You just don't see those guys in the SEC this year kind of coming out of nowhere. So 32 picks. It would be 16 SEC guys. I guess it all depends on where Jordan Jefferson goes. Who's
I think I keep hitting 15.
We got Okuda under 4.5 pick, minus 135. That's reasonable.
under? Wait, so where is it?
Under 4.5. Under
So
4.5.
under 4.5 would be 1 through 4.
So he would need to. It would need to not be a trade for the Lions pick. It's basically what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Or yeah, I know, right? Or you take the over at minus 105. Yeah. Now it's almost a coin flip there. I think I like the under. I think they take.
When you look at team to draft Tua, it's Miami Dolphins are plus 125 and the Chargers are plus 175.
I don't see the Chargers taking him at all.
I got him going to Miami, not wavering.
T. Higgins draft position over 32.5 or under 32.5.
Under.
Under is plus
Yeah,
170. Over is minus 250. So this just tells you how deep this wide receiver class is, and how the run of wide receivers, could easily upset the whole apple cart of this draft, and how you see a guy like Jalen Hurts on day 3, still up there.
That's totally worth a bet there. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Total Clemson players drafted in round 1: over 1.5, under 1.5.
Well, if Higgins goes, then the over is probably the way to go there because it's Isaiah Simmons going in the top 10, right?
Yep. Yeah, there's 2 legitimate, first rounders on Clemson, no doubt.
This is a team that won the national championship last year. I would say that I wish there was a bet more first round picks for Clemson next year or this year. I would say next year.
Oh yeah.
Because Trevor Lawrence and Etienne are both first round picks easily. It's just a matter of adding to that. Let's see. Total Ohio State players drafted in round 1: over 2.5, under 2.5.
You got Chase Young.
And Okuda. So you have, two of the top 3 if it goes to form.
If you have Arnett, David Arnett going, or
that's the question, and it's like that's the guy that's kind of like the Daniel Jones, right? But he's actually better than Daniel, a lot better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah. He's a good corner too. There's no doubt.
Yeah,
So he could go in the first round.
Yeah, there's going to be guys like that in this draft, and it's like I've never seen a draft go to form. I've never seen one. I've seen every draft, and they never go to form. And you'll see some of those picks end up being stud players, and you'll see some of those picks being just absolute busts. When they go to reach. Total wide receivers drafted in round 1: over 5.5, under 5.5.
I think over.
Yeah, over.
I like over also in that one.
Once one goes, there'll be a run on them.
So here's one. Total ACC players drafted in round 1: over 2.5, under 2.5. I love the over. I love it.
Yeah, I think you got to go over.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a low number.
Over.
Yeah.
Over.
Because you know you have two gimmies, so it's like all you need is one. If you have Higgins, then you're over. Because Simmons and Becton are first round for sure, right? First round locks.
And AJ Terrell.
Right. Could possibly go
Cornerback
there,
at corner.
Higgins. With all these wide receivers going, corners there'll also be a run on corners. It's going to be both.
Yep.
Big Ten players drafted in round 1. Over 5.5, under 5.5. So the obvious are Chase Young and Okudah. Cesar Ruiz is a guy that's been certainly talked a lot about for first round.
The guard from Iowa.
Wirfs is 4.
4.
I know I've seen a lot of them have AJ Epinesa going at the end of the first.
Yeah.
So that just puts you at 5.
Yeah.
I'll go
What
one.
about Gross Matos?
Yeah.
Let me see. Take a quick look. 1, 2, 3. Well, you got Antoine Winfield is the wild card there.
I think I'd go under 5.5.
I think so too. Zach Bond is the other guy, the linebacker that a lot of guys like. That's a guy that actually the Lions like a lot too.
Not at the 3rd overall pick, no.
No, not at 3rd overall, but I could see them trading back into the first round and taking him late.
Taking him late.
He could be there in the 2nd round pick for him.
Or he could not be.
Sure, not be, of course.
Yeah, definitely a lot of scenarios. So tomorrow we'll have a lot more information on the NFL draft and a lot more updates. But let's get to the sim picks. How did we do yesterday, Chris?
All right, so we missed the 12 o'clock game, but the Titans beat the Bills 26-6.
I don't know who I had because my wife cleaned my desk.
I think
You went against us, so you had the Titans, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And they won?
Yeah, they won.
Yeah.
The Eagles beat the Saints 27-24.
I know I had
Was
that one.
money line.
I had Eagles in that one too.
Yeah, you had that one.
And the Chargers beat the Chiefs 47-24.
Were they? Who did I have? I think I had the Chargers in that too.
You were all opposite of us.
Yeah.
We went 0-3 and you went 3-0.
All right.
I had the Chargers, yes.
So what do we got today? Back to this guy.
Today, so at 3 o'clock Eastern, Patriots at Jets. Patriots -10, over under 54.5.
Patriots over.
Jets.
I like New England.
I'll take the Jets. Plus 10.
Yeah. We'll say I think this was the hardest day of the spreads on the sim game so far.
Tightening up the spreads on the sim games.
No, they're just not gonna. They're just putting different matches together that they know the games could go either way.
Well, that's called tightening up the spreads. It's like whatever it takes.
At 7 Eastern, Ravens at Dolphins. Ravens -14, over under 54.5.
The books are really dialed in on these sim games. I got the Ravens.
Ravens.
The Dolphins plus the point.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
I'll
like
take
a
the
Dolphins money line, or you take the Ravens. The way the Sims have
And the
gone.
last one, 10 Eastern, Seahawks at Giants. Seahawks minus 8.5, over under 55.5. I love the Seahawks.
This could be the first time I ever take the Giants in the last 9 years of this show. Nope. Seahawks.
Nope.
Seahawks.
Almost
Even the
average.
penny knows. Even the penny knows.
It's like,
The penny did like one last flip in midair just before it landed on his hand. It's like, oh crap.
do you have a quarterback that can exploit Eli Apple? Okay, I'll take the other team. Do you have a guy that can rush Daniel Jones from the blind side? Okay. About 6 of them. All right, that wraps up today's show. Tomorrow is the NFL draft. I'll be live doing the draft live. I don't know. I guess it's going to go right down the middle of my dinner time. We'll have to see. We'll have to play that by ear. That portion of the draft. I might have to take a 30-minute break and come back or something. But we'll figure it out at the time. But tomorrow is the NFL draft. Hopefully, we have some good news about what we're allowed to do. So we're back on the beaches here. Sam is excited. See, he's just jumping for joy over there, and he just doesn't. He looks super excited, right, about getting back on the beach. But he'll be ready this afternoon. Maybe I'll do a live show from the beach on YouTube Live, and maybe we'll have some updates as to what's going on. Anyways, have a great day, everyone. We'll see you guys tomorrow for the last countdown to the NFL draft.
Got it.